Hello, happy Friday. How's it going? Woohoo! Get some coffee. Sorry to make you watch me drink coffee. There's probably a market for that, you know? Watch. Hey Siri, how do I. How do I. Oh, my Siri just responded. Hey Siri, how do I find videos of people drinking coffee? Because watching people drink coffee makes me relax. It's so civilized. Nothing can be wrong if everyone's drinking coffee. Now my phone is looking for videos of people drinking coffee because Siri heard me. Yes, talking about you, Siri. You're not sentient yet. Get out of here. Okay, my phone's over here, obviously. Wanted to come on because I had some fun dreams this last week and thought I'd do a little blitzkrieg of dreams. Last night was very interesting, was very fun. I had a dream. Pardon me. I just had some biscotti. Oh my God, biscotti's so good. I had a dream that I had a pet bee. I had a pet bee because this bee started following me around at work. It was actually at my old job, and but it was really big. So it was weird because I would see it sometimes with other bees. Yeah, now you can watch me pick stuff out of my eyes. I was with some other bee. I was looking at some other bees. You know, normal bees about this big. This bee that was hanging around with me was like a double bee almost. It was just a different scale. It was larger. I don't know why. And I was at my old job, and I was going through the offices, and I worked with a lot of grumpy people at my old job, so they were there and you know doing their grumpy thing. But I was amused that this bee was hanging around me, going from room to room, and I didn't. I didn't have a communication, a telepathic communication with her or anything like that. But essentially, there was an understanding that the bee was just going to be around me now. The bee was just going to be around me now. And so it was. So it followed me into the main office, and then like when the door was open, like I held the door open long enough for the bee to get out, and when I would go into different rooms, I would just make sure that the bee was still with me, and the bee was on top of it. Like I didn't have to worry about the bee. So then even I went to the grocery store. I went to a department store after work, and I was looking through racks of pants, and the bee was just in the air. And then the racks of clothing got really dense, like as if someone had crammed all the racks of pants together, and you had to like wade through them like a sea of pants. Yeah. And I was like, oh, the beast's gonna get confused. It's not gonna be able to find me through all these, you know, pants. And the bee found me, and it was fine. And then I was thinking that when I was gonna get in the car, that I would have to like get a container or something to put the bee in for to get it from the department store to the car, and then just to make sure I didn't lose it. But actually, now that I think about it, it probably would have been fine because it must have gotten from work to the department store with me in the car without a container. Yeah, that's where we're at today. That it's that kind of day. I also had a dream about gigging with some old pals. A guy that I used to perform with a lot back in the day. I don't know if I mentioned around 2002 for Kicks. I started a Hank Williams Sr. tribute band. Well, really, it was just supposed to be a Hank Williams Sr. night at a local bar called Nietzsche's, but instead it was popular and it grew from a duo into a full band. And then we started doing gigs. Pardon me. Started doing gigs all over the place, and the band ran like unintentionally for like 10 years. It was crazy, and I played with a bass player named Jim. He's about 10 years older than me, and we still occasionally get to gig together doing other stuff, but we just had this wild run of 10 years of Hank Williams Sr. gigs, including a lot of gigs on the Seneca Reservation, Indian Reservation here. There's a few. There's one in Silver Creek, and there's one, I think, where's the other one? There may be a small one in Niagara Falls. Don't quote me on any of this, but we used to play at campgrounds that was down in what we call the Southern Tier, which was near Allegheny, where they have a casino, a Seneca casino. And we even played a couple of weddings and the inauguration of one of the Seneca Nation, local Seneca Nation presidents at the casino that they own, which was kind of interesting. Played on the big stage that all the national acts come in and play on. But anyway, for some reason, I also had a dream about being in the car with Jim and bar hopping. But we were bar hopping looking for gigs at dive bars. And we ended up at this one dive bar that apparently maybe there was a pre-existing relationship with that didn't go so great because the guy was giving Jim a hard time about letting us play. And there weren't many people there, and everybody was drinking cheap beer. And the entire room was black patrons. There were no white patrons in the bar, which is fine. And we do have some black bars more on the east side of Buffalo. And I've played for mixed audiences for years. But this particular bar, for whatever reason, it wasn't a bar I was familiar with. It was a fictional bar. But they wouldn't let us play because I guess Jim had some dealings with them that didn't go so great. So don't know what that's about. But honestly, that's really a tangent. The bee dream was way more interesting because it was like this unspoken understanding between the bee and I. And so I was just thinking it was just like a nature theme. And like in my daily life, I feed the birds and the squirrels here every day, as you probably know, if you watch me regularly. And now that it's spring and I can sit out on the porch, it's great to just feel that symbiosis, that connection back to nature that you don't get quite the same way in winter. Winter is beautiful. I would miss winters, even though they're long and cold. They could be a little shorter for my taste, but I would miss seasons if we didn't have them. But yeah, so it was kind of an extension of that sympathy for nature and the simple joy you can get out of it. I guess it was that kind of a dream. But it just was funny that the bee knew that. It's just like, okay, yeah, I'll just follow this guy around. He's my guy. Oh, and I woke up, and the reason I woke up from the dream was because I was getting ready to leave, I think, the office again. And the bee accidentally flew up partially up my nose. So I woke up trying to clear my nose, and that's when that's how I woke up. All right, so make that whatever you will, or just laugh at it. Do you know Separate Dream? Do you know the singer Tom Waits? I really like Tom Waits. He's an original. He started kind of as a blues guy and wandered into sort of a hybrid of styles where he has a lot of experimental music, and then he has a lot of songs that are just straight up beautiful. He can write, a traditional piano ballad as well as anybody I've ever heard, and then he can make these noisy, clangy, kind of rustic sounding songs with found instruments and practically banging on pots and pans sometimes, to get the sounds that he thinks are interesting, the sounds in his head. So I had a dream a few nights ago that I was hanging out like at a rehearsal room, or maybe even the home of Tom Waits, and it was just a small room with an upright piano, not a fancy piano, a little out of tune, but not badly. And there were 2 or 3 other people in the room, and Tom Waits I was sitting by the windows, and Tom Waits had his back to me as he played the piano against the wall opposite me. And he played one of my favorite songs that he's written, which is called Picture in a Frame. And it's such a simple song, but it is so pretty and loving. And he's been with his wife a long time, and I imagine, like any long-term relationship, they've had their ups and downs. But I know that he writes music with her too, and I thought it would be. I mean, I don't know that he. I imagine that he wrote it specifically for her, or they wrote it for each other together. But I encourage you to look up "Picture in a Frame" by Tom Waits. It's on an album called Mule Variations, Mule Variations. And the lyric is simple, but and repetitive, but just so pretty. You know, he says the sun comes up, it was blue and glow, it was blue and gold. The sun come up, it was blue and gold. The sun come up, it was blue and gold. So it's like a blues kind of thing. So it's like the sun, key. The sun come up, it was blue and gold. Sun come up, it was blue and gold. The sun come up, it was blue and gold. Ever, ever since I, ever since I put your picture in a frame. Ever since I put your picture in a frame. I haven't been awake that long, so morning voice. I come calling in my Sunday best. I come calling in my Sunday best. I come calling in my Sunday best. Ever since I put your picture in a frame. And then there's a bridge that I just love where he says, I'm going to love you till wheels come off. Till wheels come off. Oh, yeah, that's it. I'm going to love you till wheels come off. Oh, yeah, something like that. Sorry. The reason I'm in a different location is because I'm uploading a very large file to my computer, so I have to make sure that the computer doesn't go to sleep, because every time it goes to sleep, it stops uploading the file, which is really annoying. Because I thought I could go to bed last night and then wake up and it would be done, but no, it stopped uploading as soon as it went into sleep mode. So this large video is at 40%. Upload. Yeah, tangent. So anyway, he sang the whole song, which I don't know if I've heard the whole song, like a whole song in a dream before, but it was cool, and I was just admiring it and really enjoying him just singing it for the people, the small group that was there. Oh yeah, I think the last verse is, it reminds me that I meant as a result of the dream to start performing the song, so I need to figure out what key it's in. But the last verse is, what is it? I love you, baby, and I always will, or I love you and I always will. I love you, baby, and I always will. I love you, baby, and I always will. I love you, baby, and I always will. Ever since I put your picture in a frame. Because he's got a particular delivery. And when he sang the last line of the song in the dream, he got up from the piano and he stood and he put his arms out and he did a very sort of exaggerated vibrato, like, ever since I put your picture in a frame, like a long last note. And I just smiled and it made me cry in the dream. It made me cry. I didn't cry in reality because when I woke up, my eyes were dry. But it connected to a memory I had about 20 years ago. I took one of the very few real vacations I've taken in my life, and I went to Key West with my friend Tanya, and we had a really great time, and it was beautiful there. And we made one mistake. We flew into, I think it was Fort Lauderdale, and then drove down through Miami, and then drove down through the Keys. The Florida Keys are a series of islands, 100 miles in length. However, that's deceiving because 100 miles on a thruway would take you about 2 hours maybe to drive, but not the Florida Keys, because they're all separate and they're all towns and they all have like low speed limits. And so basically driving through the Keys takes about 5 or 6 hours. So we flew into Fort Lauderdale, picked up a rental car in the afternoon. But by the time we got to the Keys, we had driven 6 or 7 more hours and into the night. So we didn't even really see them that well. But we saw them really well driving back up to get our flight out of Florida. And Tanya was sleeping while I was getting us right to the airport. And I remember the Tom Waits record was playing in the car. It was probably on CD at that time. I brought it with me. And Picture in Frame was playing. So I'm looping on the throughway to connect to the exit to get us to the correct terminal at the airport. And then I started to cry because the song was so pretty, and I was so like, you know how blissed out and relaxed you get from being on vacation. So you're like, I don't know, you're more connected. You get a reset in your heart and mind, and so the tears started to come, and then whenever I think of that song, it is imprinted upon that memory. That memory is imprinted upon the song, I should say. They're intertwined. And that's what's so amazing about music for many other reasons. And I said this to a younger musician friend of mine named Grace, a young guitarist that I really like. She's very sweet. She comes from a kind of traditional religious family, but she's not particularly religious herself, but she's spiritual and very talented for her young age. I think she's 26 or so, 27. She plays blues guitar, and she's a mean guitarist. She can really wail, and she's a little peanut of a person. She's very tiny and polite and thoughtful, but you can see the wheels of her incredible mind. You can feel the wheels of her incredible mind turning when you talk to her. And I remember we did a joint gig together recently, about a month ago. Actually, that's the file that I'm uploading to YouTube right now. I'm uploading an 8 gig file of my band's performance from this joint bill that we did with Grace's band at a Buffalo bar. So this will be up on my channel at some point. It's like a 50-minute performance, full band with a horn section. Our group is called Plaster Sandals. Grace's band is called Grosh, Grosh, because when she started it with the drummer Josh, and her name is Grace, so they call it Grosh. Get it? And anyway, after the gig, we were talking over drinks, and both bands were hanging out, and I mentioned to her that she brought up a synchronistic thing that happened, but one time when we were together, it was like a synchronicity joke. We were sitting on my porch a number of summers back, talking about music, sitting in plastic lawn chairs on my second floor porch, enjoying the fauna. And I said something like, "Man, I wish I could get a break," or "I wish so and so could get a break." Break was break was the operative word, or maybe crack. Like, man, I'd sure like to take a crack at that. Crack or break. And as soon as I said the word crack or break, my chair cracked. It split in the back, and we could hear it. So it was like a visual pun of the thing I just said. And I had talked to her before about how I think that synchronicities are signs of the interconnected, reality that we live in. And so she brought up this memory of crack and my chair cracking while we were at the bar after the joint gig we had done together. And she said, remember that time that you did that thing you said?" And I said, "Oh, of course I remember, because it stood out so strongly." I said, "Yeah, everything's interconnected somehow. Everything is we live in a magical realm, essentially." And then I think I said to her at some point, as we were talking about music, I said, "That's why I'm so attracted to music, because I have this feeling that everything in the universe is music. Like, reality itself is waves. I mean, they already know all the matter in the universe, including everything we're made up of, is vibrational. Every atom is vibrational, as I've said before. And in quantum and string theory, they talk about particles and waves. Every like undetermined, like everything, everything vibrates until it's observed. It moves as light. Light moves as a waveform until it's observed, and at the point of observation by an intelligent being, it appears as particles. So it takes a define. Oh, hey, it's Shaby. Hey, buddy. You made a guest appearance. Oh, he's coming near. Hi, buddy. Yeah, he's right at my feet. Good timing. When waves are observed, light waves are observed, then they become particles. And you can watch videos on this, on the duality of atoms as both waves and particles, because it's one of the mysteries of quantum physics, and it suggests that reality exists in an undefined, undetermined state, waiting for an intelligence to lock it into actually existing. That quantum reality is a field of possibilities, and it is intelligences like our own human intelligence and other intelligences that then define and lock that reality into an actual shape that we can experience in 3D. So, yeah. So, and music to me is a big part of that. And I think my attraction to music since I was in high school has been so strong, because I didn't realize it then, because I was more of an atheist agnostic in high school. Oh, he's dropping down. Okay, I got to slump and pet him. I was more agnostic in high school, but I think my attraction to music is because at its best, music is totally spiritual. When you're writing music and performing music that you love, it is a spiritual experience. It is for me. It was then too, but I wouldn't have expressed it in the same way. But I knew that the pull was strong, and has remained so for more than 30 years of playing and writing music. And it's really one of the best feelings you can have. Sex is pretty good too. Music and sex, they compete. Just saying. Less said the better. On that front, I know you people. I know you people. So, yeah, Picture in a Frame by Tom Waits. Look it up. Check it out. It's a beautiful song. And after I get off this video, I'm going to go and learn it and maybe perform it this weekend if I feel confident enough to include it in my show. But it reminded me that I needed to learn it. More dreams. More dreams. I had dreams of, I always dream about good and evil. I have since I was a kid. I dream about light and darkness and good and evil. And again, when I was young, I wouldn't have called it good and evil. But now in a spiritual frame, I think I would. And that could be dangerous, because when you talk about things being good and evil, and you label, if you label people as good or evil, you're entering dangerous turf, because anybody can do the same to you. They can turn it around on you. So we have to be very careful with those labels, and I'm hesitant to use them. Look who's gonna take a little nappy, I think. We have to be careful when we use them, but I kind of think good and evil are real. They do exist. Oh, good. Got some nice grooming going on right there. Yeah, well, you know. I tend to think that in the realm of duality, that darkness is inevitable, like that it's going to have its own agenda at some point that is separate from what the light would prefer. And that's why they call Earth, a playground for the soul, because you get to experience the possibly some of the greatest highs and lows that an intelligent being can experience anywhere in the universe, because we see the most generous, we see the most loving acts and people among the most brutal and seemingly soulless and broken people side by side, and the contrast is so extreme it hurts your soul sometimes, but it is certainly an experience. It is certainly a learning experience, and you get to choose all the time what side you prefer to be on, if you will, or what side you think is the one that works. Yeah. So in the couple of dreams I had two different dreams. One dream was of an impending alien invasion of Earth. I don't think this is a forthcoming reality, but it was a hostile alien invasion of Earth. And what made it weird was that we could see them coming. Like we had a way of seeing deep into space. Maybe it was some kind of array of telescopes, but and they were able to map the advance of this hostile alien civilization across other galaxies, and it was clear that they were on their way to us. And but the way it was presented in the dream was so strange, because it was I was staring at a night sky in a city, kind of maybe a city less like Las Vegas, or maybe even Los Angeles, with a lot of low buildings. I've been in downtown LA. I haven't been in Las Vegas. In Los Angeles, I think they have a code where buildings can only be so high so that they don't obstruct the view of the rest of the whole region. Like, say if you lived in the Hollywood Hills and you looked out over LA, it would be buildings that are top out around maybe 6 or 7 stories. I think this is still true, that they have this restriction. You can't build up buildings there like New York, which is just dense with enormous skyscrapers. That city view is just completely different from LA. So I was in a city like LA, or maybe, I don't know why I think like Las Vegas, if Las Vegas is similar. And I'm staring at the night sky, and as in other recent dreams, there is there's imagery projected on the sky. It's almost as if I'm being blatantly reminded that we live in a constructed reality, like a hologram, like our reality is real and also not real at the same time. I know other people would maybe disagree with that statement. Other psychics might disagree with that statement. I think you can have both. I think you can say that reality is somewhat a construct, because if it's a construct of a creator, as I believe, and the creator is powerful enough to create it, then presumably the creator is also powerful enough to end it if desired, or change it if desired, and make other things, or make other things anyway, regardless of whatever its feelings are about how things are going in this universe. And I'm not leading up to the universe ending or anything like that. That's not where this is going. But again, like, I often see projections of things, like projections of things on the sky, as if I'm watching a movie. So when some people say, like, life is a dream and that our true home is elsewhere, there's a part of me that does believe that. Anyway, in this dream, there was a building here to my right, like so, like you're looking through my eyes as you look at the screen, and the building was like an art center or something, and they were projecting this whole image on the sky, and it depicted, ironically, it depicted all of North America. So you could see the stars through it, and you could see the regular sky through it, but they had projected a map that looked like North America. And then they showed where the alien ships were, and the alien ships were like they had advanced to this line here that was apparently still away from Earth, but was beginning to encroach on Earth's territory. Now, I don't know why they didn't just show Earth as a planet and the ships here, and instead they showed a North American map with the alien ships that were getting ready to invade us. But that's how it was. And that map of the North America that I saw in the sky, it took up the whole sky. So it was really huge, and I just was like, wow, that's really strange. So we were just trying to kind of get ready for this invasion, and I don't know what the plan was. And that's really all there was to that dream. There wasn't too much more information in that dream. But in a separate dream that I had, I think a couple days before that, I dreamt that either an alien or a unfriendly spiritual race, like like let's imagine, how do I express this, that the forces of darkness, if you will, for lack of a better word. I don't like to give it a name. I don't like to empower it in any way. Let's say, but just say the forces of darkness, some kind of ancient dark presence had decided to launch an attack on Earth. But the attack was different than this attack in this dream was different than the alien invasion because it was a spiritual attack. And the spiritual attack could be conducted from far away without having to actually come to Earth. And what they were doing is they were directing negative energy weapons at Earth. Don't get creeped out. It's just a dream. And so I could see into deep space. I could see that they had this essentially huge, like, space cannon that could fire negative energy from millions or maybe billions of miles away at Earth. And their goal was to continue to agitate us because there's so much unrest here now, to continue to foment division, depression, despair, pain. And they shot this energy ball. And when I say energy ball, it was probably the size of a moon, like in terms of the scope of the dream, like its size. It was big. Moon-shaped ball of energy. And they shot it from way far away. And it essentially traveled invisibly through space. You could not see this energy, but I could see it. I guess I was just aware of it. And when it reached Earth and it hit Earth, I saw Earth like in the center of my field of vision with like kind of like a glow around it. And when the ball came from this side and hit Earth, it, as soon as it hit the edge, it cascaded an energy out around the whole of Earth. And it went right through the planet and kind of like ripped out the other side, and it tore some of Earth's defenses away. But Earth's defenses appeared to be like a white shield of light, maybe even an angelic shield of protection. And it ripped and tore that protection as it passed through the Earth and out the other side. And when I saw the ball coming out the other side, it had like a smiley face on it, like a creepy smiley face and eyes, like, I just ripped at your, at your hope. Ha ha ha. Assholes. They're assholes. So it rips through Earth. But I can also see that as the ball is passing through the Earth, that fibers, like almost like fabric, white fabric, is trailing behind it. And I realize that this is part of our defensive shield around Earth. Let's call it angelic energy, because that's how it might have seemed. And the energy was alive. The white energy that appeared like fabric had sentience, And the white fabric realized that it had been damaged by the weapon, but it also realized that it could rebuild itself. It could grow. It could regrow and re-protect Earth, and that's what its intentions were. So even though we had taken this painful blow via the little energy ball weapon, there was already an effort to counteract it and try to rebalance the energy on Earth. Now, again, am I suggesting that there really is some dark, dark set of forces aiming energy weapons at Earth from billions of miles away? Not really. I think it's more of a metaphor. But when I have these dreams, which I've had since I was a kid, dreams. Sorry, restarting my computer so I can continue the upload that I'm working on. So when I even when I was a kid and I had this dream of dying and beings in white and red robes fighting over me, trying to grab me. The white robes were trying to grab me up, and the red robes were trying to grab me down. So I've always had this like sort of binary good versus evil kind of imagery in my dreams ever since I was a kid, and I don't know exactly why it's so. And again, I do hesitate to call things good and evil, yet they're kind of like natural opposites. If God is truly, I believe that there is some kind of creator. We'll just call it God, just for the sake of convenience. You can call it whatever you want. Let's just say that God exists. God is a being or a collective of beings or whatever God is. God is the all. Well, when God creates a reality in which anything less than perfection is possible, then you're going to have things that are good and less good. So, in essence, darkness and evil is an inevitability. It's an inevitable. It rises inevitably from just there being the existence of duality, being in duality, and so, in a way, let's say that God truly is all love, and but God creates a galaxy, a universe that chooses for itself whether it wants to be more loving or less loving. Well, there are going to be beings within that reality that are going to test every extreme because it's not yet been for the sheer discovery of the extremes. There are going to be beings who believe so strongly that love is the answer to everything, as I do, even if I don't always act in that way from my best loving self. I still believe that love is the essence of everything that's good, and I have seen repeatedly in my life that the more loving I am and that others and the better things just work. You can get all of the benefits from love, like collaboration, friendship, loyalty, trust, support, that don't exist if you choose a path that is darker. So inevitably, every being is going to have the opportunity to choose whether to live an existence more from light or more from dark. And some will choose dark because they may find or believe that it is ultimately more powerful than light, even though I don't believe that personally. And they may seek power in those realms, and that's where you get these really extreme actors. Like, I think of the Russian mercenaries in Ukraine, who, when someone in their midst tries to abandon, their group, they murder them. So, like, they murder their own if they betray the mercenary code and try to leave the mercenary group, and they bludgeon them with sledgehammers, as you may have heard, which is so brutal, so terrible. It's almost incomprehensible. It's so awful. And again, the irony is it's an awfully creative way to kill someone. It's a perverse use of the innate creativity in a human being to for purely destructive purposes, and it is sad beyond belief. But yet, of course, someone eventually is going to do that in a realm of light and darkness, because the darkness is plumbing the depths and looking for new depths, and the light is looking for new heights. But really, it's probably just trying to get more people just to live from the light, because the light has all the good answers, you know. I mean, even loving a pet like my buddy here in the background adds so much joy to my existence. To choose not to love other people or beings would be just such a weird choice to me. But some people go that route, and they align themselves with what maybe in a larger universe is the greater darkness and the greater good, and they both exist. They're gonna exist in this realm because it is duality, and we get to choose which we will embody. So I guess I do believe sort of in the existence of good and evil, though again I would always hesitate to label individuals as good or evil, because that can be very slippery slope, because then you start sounding like the church, which is where you don't want to be, like where you codify everything, where you get into dogma and rigid thinking, and you say that someone is evil and therefore they can never be anything but evil, because people can change. Even like I wrote about in my first book, the serial killer son of Sam, when he was caught and went to prison, had like a sort of religious experience where he realized that his life up to then had been horror, and that he was going to spend the rest of his days in jail as a kind of informal counselor to other people in the prison, because he thought he could be helpful to them, help them work through their inner demons, if you will. And so it doesn't mean anybody has to forgive him, or his victims have to forgive him, but he made the attempt to turn from the darkness he had once embraced and get on with the light, get in with the light. And that's great. It's an extreme example of changing, but it still counts. All right, so let's see. I'm looking at my list of the dreams. I got to most of them, except for one that was really fun that I'll mention here at the end. So I guess you could say I've been pondering light and dark a lot, just because of the current state of the world we're in, and I know which side I want to be on, whichever way things go. I still have faith that we're going to get our act together in this country, but I think that the process of restoring democracy is going to be slower than I had hoped. I really have said before that I thought, as many psychics predicted, that the election would go differently, and that the Democrats would have all of Congress, and we could start moving in the right direction. But the bullshit rages on, and it's gonna maybe take yet another electoral cycle to reinforce the democracy. Okay, I'll tell you about the last dream I had within the week that was kind of entertaining. As many times before, I dreamt that I could levitate. This dream was odd in that it seemed to take place on Earth, but it was as if it might have been somewhat in the future, because we seemed to have pet aliens. Some people had pet aliens, and the aliens were like these gooey, wobbly, kind of like silly putty creatures. They were, and they were elongated. They were they they look like horizontal blobs, but they could levitate. And they were around. Like I was walking down this street that people were occupying, and the levitating wobbly aliens were around. Some of them were kind of like in what you might call display cases or like cages of a kind. Like I don't know, like but they were like glass rooms that they were in. Like I don't know if this was more like a zoo that I was wandering in. It wasn't clear, but they were around. But none of the people were levitating. And as I was looking at the aliens levitating, and they didn't talk or anything, so they seemed more like pets. Now, why we would have alien pets, but aliens wouldn't be around, I don't know. So I don't know what that's about. Don't ask me. But I was thinking to myself, as I often do in these dreams, I'm pretty sure I can levitate too. So let's check it out. So I walked up to a couple of people and I'm like, hey, I see, those floating aliens are around. Well, I think I can levitate too. And then I did. And then I'm 30, 40 feet in the air. And all these people are staring at me from the ground. Which that was kind of different than previous levitation dreams. Because in previous levitation dreams, I'm often by myself, it seems. Or there's not a lot of people around. But this time, there were a lot of people around. And as soon as I began to levitate, I realized that I had invited, I had put in motion a complete change of my life from that point forward. I had very casually engaged in levitating, but I hadn't fully thought through what it would do to my life when people knew that someone could levitate. But I also had the realization that it was all right, and yes, it'll be fine. I'll manage it. It won't be a big deal. So I began to levitate, and as I'm levitating, for some reason my arms are stuck down in my shirt. I'm wearing kind of like a robe top, like with loose, dangly sleeves. But I have my arms are inside of it. So as I'm levitating, I'm trying to get my arms out of the sleeves, and I get my arm out of this sleeve no problem, but this one's stuck. So I'm kind of trying, like I want to kind of do like a kind of like this, like hey, check it out, but I can't because this arm is stuck. So I'm laughing at myself at the same time, and as people are looking at me rise in the sky, I say, I figure I should give a little speech. So I said, this is possible for anyone. Anyone can do this. So you just have to tap into whatever that is, that force that helps you to levitate, and you can do it too. Like, I'm not special just because I can do this. And then I knew that people would probably start filming me with their cameras, and that would be how it would disseminate. And that maybe this would be the start of a change on the planet. Maybe everybody would start levitating. Some people would start levitating. Unfortunately, that's where the dream ended. So I don't have I don't have any more information about it, which is kind of a tease, but it wasn't intentional. Yeah. So that's my whole bag of dreams. The most recent being the pet bee. So now, when I finish up, I think I'm going to go sit on the porch for a little bit and finish my coffee before I start getting ready. I've got gigs this weekend. I've got 2 performances this weekend. Oh yeah, I got to work on Picture in a Frame by Tom Waits next. And I'm going to contemplate that pet bee and take a look outside and see what's going on. I do love the squirrels, the local squirrels, and now we've named, with Diane's help, we've named the new squirrel with the white spot beneath its eye, Jack. I do have a video of Jack, and if this is unfamiliar to you, there have been a series of squirrels that I feed on my porch, and I think we're into the 3rd or 4th generation now. And among the friendly ones, there's always been one with a white mark beneath its eye. It's almost like how you know it. That began with Ellie. She had the mark. Then what we believe was her daughter Erin had a mark. and now Jack seems to have the mark. And Jack is clearly younger. Don't know its gender yet. So, thus the gender neutral name, Jack, Jackie, whatever. And they're friendly. And they come up, and I'll be sitting in the chair, and there'll be 2 or 3 of them all just hanging out together, eating peanuts on the porch while I'm there. And if a bee comes along and wants to be my friend, that'll be cool. I'm not going to bring it inside, I don't think. And not the squirrels either. But they are fun company. And I do believe that that vibe that we put out towards nature is, they feel it and they know where they're welcome. And my mom was even saying that the other day now that she has, where she lives, a robin that has been coming every evening for food at a very specific time and sits on the fence and waits for her to bring it over. And she's been feeling that magic a bit. And I said, yeah, for sure. They know. They just know. They feel energy in an intuitive way. Yeah, that's it. So take care. Have a great weekend. Yeah, this video's pretty bonkers. It's kind of what I'm selling over here. I don't care what people think, really. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't post. Yeah, so enjoy your weekend. Take care. Be well. See you soon. Bye.